Welcome to Backstage with Becca with special guest Erica Simone Barnett. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca B. On this episode, she made her Broadway debut at age 10 when she was in Matilda as the swing for Lavender and Amanda. She has performed at Radio City's Christmas Spectacular, performed with Meghan Trainor at the Halo Awards, and at only 20 years old, is currently on the national tour of Mean Girls the Musical. Please welcome Erica Simone Barnett. How are you today?
Doing okay. How are you?
Doing good. I was looking at your resume last night, and I was like, oh my gosh, she has not been off stage since she was a kid.
That is a full-blown lie. There was a period of time where I did not work for 6 years.
Really? Okay. Well, I'm gonna get into that, but your resume is insane.
Oh, well, thank you. I tried to.
And you're so young, so I'm really impressed.
Thank you so much. I really like your dress. I'm really into floral right now, so I think it's really pretty.
Thank you. I love floral. Spring is my favorite.
Yeah.
Obviously. So I'm gonna get right into things. First of all, how have you been lately within the past couple of years? It's been a crazy time.
It's been such an interesting time. I am really young. I'm 20. So it's been a very transitional period in my life personally. I graduated high school in the middle of the pandemic. I started college in the middle of the pandemic. I dropped out of college in the middle of the pandemic. So it's been a little hectic in my life, but I am really grateful for it. I have a lot of gratitude towards everything that's been going on and all the lessons I've been learning and experiencing and all that. So
amazing. There's silver linings to everything.
Of course, always.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason.
Everything.
It's just some reasons are a little you're what is this?
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
It happens later. You'll figure it out later. It's oh, okay. Yeah.
Exactly. So when did you realize that you wanted to be a performer and act and sing and dance?
I don't think I just talked to somebody about this. I don't think I realized at a young age that this was something I was going to do. Both my parents are teachers, so I was really interested in history when I was younger. I love to learn. I love to synthesize and make sense of everything that's happened and all that stuff. And so as a young person, I didn't think I wanted to, and I'm still young, I'm 20, but when I was really young, even past working on Broadway, I was yeah, this is not a job. This is fun. This is kid stuff, right? And then I think it happened around 13 or 14, and I had seen my high school's production of Ragtime, right?
Ooh.
And my baby brother happened to be in it, and I was wrangling him and stage managing. And it was around 2016 when the Black Lives Matter movement was really pushing and things were happening. And I was seeing the profound impact that the show was having on the people in that show, to the audiences, to myself. And I was oh, theater can do that? Yeah, sign me up. Let's do it. I'm good at this thing. Let me use it to make good and do good. And I think that's what I enjoy about Mean Girls a little bit, because it's the message of the show, the central themes of the show, and also a lot of work that I do with Changes Fetch. So that's how I really got into it.
Yes, and I've talked about Changes Fetch with English, and
yes,
such a great idea that was come up with.
It was Caitlin Louise Smith, all Caitlin Louise Smith. She's the one who spearheaded it, and she really it works hard to get everybody involved and make a difference. And I couldn't be more grateful to have met Caitlin and come into this company and do these things.
And I think you'll find different organizations in every city.
Yeah,
which is really cool. So a lot of research is being done.
Yeah, and it's really great to interact with these people. We're coming into the communities for a week, or if we're lucky, longer, and stirring it up and doing a musical or whatever. And I'm I genuinely want to interact with these people. I'm from New York. I don't I grew up in New York, and so like that's the place where people come and visit, and so I like going out into America and seeing everything and seeing where places where my friends are from. Like I was joking with my friends with college. They're like, "Oh, I'm from so and so in the middle of so and so," and I was like, "I don't know where that is," and now I know where that is because of tour. So
Yes. So, okay, so it's very interesting that you grew up in New York
yeah,
because like you're all around the especially theater industry, but like entertainment industry as a whole.
yes,
So, I mean, how did that help you get interested in like Broadway and like realize that
I
yes,
got
that is a job that I can do?
say something funny. So what I used to do in high school, my mother used to give me like a card with an allowance on it. I would
Ooh.
spend the very little money on food, and I would go and buy rush tickets during my lunch period, and then after school I would go and watch shows all of the time, all of the time. Sometimes I would even skip my like afternoon classes to go see a Wednesday matinee. It was that deep. It I love theater so much. You talk to any of my friends, you're like, it's aggressive. They'll be like, she's aggressive about it. I soak it all up. I love the history of it. I love the connections. I love the relationships. I love the power. And growing up in New York and like going to school in Midtown Manhattan just made me lucky because I was in the middle of it and I was watching all these people thrive and grow and perform, and it just made me want to do it even more and like really hunker down on like theater is it for me personally.
Yeah. Do you remember the first show you saw? Because I mean, growing up in New York, you probably saw a ton of shows. So you're like, hmm.
Okay, so I vaguely remember it's one of three shows because my mother is a high school principal, and in New York City what they do when a show is either not selling well or as like part of outreach they'll give tickets to New York City public school students. So she got tickets. I'm trying to remember. I saw three shows as a kid. Like I remember My Child of Mine, three shows that I know I saw as a kid. I saw The Color Purple, I saw Mamma Mia, and I saw Lion King. I know I saw those shows. Do I know how old I was? No. Were those probably some of my first musicals? Yes. I have
Oh,
no clue what years those were, but those were my first three, I think. I also saw Mamma Mia repeatedly because I loved it.
I mean, it's such a feel good show. I just saw a regional production of it in Dallas recently.
Are you from Dallas?
Yes, I am.
How's the heat down there? We just finished up in Texas.
Well, it's cooling off a little bit. We finally got rain and
Good.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, we're very excited about like rain coming through and fall weather finally starting to like drift in.
Yeah, it was very hot when we were down
Yeah,
there.
it does get cool, but like the weather just goes all over the place here.
Yeah,
It's
I
nuts.
got you on that.
Yeah. I lived in LA for 5 years and the LA weather I can deal with much more than the Dallas weather.
I've only been in LA in like May time, so like it wasn't too hot. I don't know if they get like a full cycle. They don't get a full cycle, but they get something.
Yeah, in like January they get like their winter.
Right. It's
Yep.
like 40 degrees and they're like, oh yay. Yeah.
Burr.
Right.
It's so cold.
I went to college in Michigan. It was like -10 degrees and the snow was up my leg.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I could not imagine. I would like freeze. I would not be prepared. I don't have any like substantial winter coats. So
Yeah. I did.
so you've danced for a while too, and you're a great dancer.
Thank you.
I when I saw Mean Girls, I was like, oh my gosh, like I
Yeah,
was the choreography is insane,
it
first of
is.
all, in Mean Girls. So like it's not easy.
No.
When did you start dancing and how do you think dancing has helped you become like a well-rounded performer growing up?
I think no, I started when I was two, and I was answering this question. So I still consider myself very much a dancer, as very much as a musical theater performer or an actor or a singer. I appreciate my dance background because people often talk about a very grounding presence, very grounding presence, and my body's very grounded, and when I stand, I think I contribute that to such a deep connection I have to my body. I also really love physical storytelling in any capacity. So when I always think about this, when we're birds in Africa, I'm a bird in Africa, but like that experience, what does that look like? I think my dance background helps me a lot with that. But I think it just opens up a world of potential and storytelling and a world of opportunities and different resources. Also, I think you feel a lot of different things in your body. Like when you feel emotions, they often captivate different parts of your body. So I think having that connectedness to my body, thanks to my dance background, allows me to access those emotions, and it just helps me amplify my performance in any way I can.
I mean, and dancing is like, you do act and dance, which I feel like people don't connect dancing and acting sometimes, but it's like a lot of dancers, if you go watch dance videos, professional dance videos, it's acting through and through.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
An emotion somehow. So
Do you have a favorite style of dance?
I love a commercial jazz moment. I really do.
Ooh,
Commercial
why is that?
theatrical jazz. Yeah, I love musical theater. So that really. Yeah, I would say that. Definitely.
Ooh, love that. So I actually didn't know, but until, I mean, you did a takeover recently where you talked about it, I think, doing Matilda as
Yeah.
a kid on Broadway. So you made your Broadway debut with Matilda,
Yes, almost 10 years ago.
which crazy because you were 10 years old at the time, or
Yeah.
11, 10, 11.
Yes, and I hold on to that experience a lot. I know it was 10 years ago, but I don't think without that experience I could do Mean Girls so young, or break into the industry as a young adult so well. I think, working as a child has its pros and cons, but I think definitely benefited from that experience in terms of preparedness and my etiquette and my work ethic very much.
Yes, it's kind of like my sister was a gymnast, and it's kind of like growing up like as a gymnast at a young age, you get that like maturity at a young age from working with, I mean, you have to be like composed when you're a gymnast, and like I feel like when you're in theater you're working with a lot of adults too. So you're like, I want to pretend to be an adult and be grown up and stuff when you're a young kid working with those adults.
We get paid the same, we do the same hours, we do the same things. I respond to the same people, so we're definitely held to a higher standard and are expected to behave in certain ways.
Yes. So what was your audition process like for Matilda, and why did you want to audition for Matilda at such a young age?
I love the movie. Who doesn't love the movie? If you don't
Yes.
love the movie, I think something's wrong with you. But of course, I watch a movie. I love Keanu Duvall as Lavender, and um, I think I just really drawn to that. I was a young Black girl with glasses. I used to wear really big frames. I wear contacts now because my glasses broke one day when I was in high school, and I just didn't bother to get them fixed, and I just kept wearing my contacts. And I didn't think the transition to that was going to be so easy, but it did. It happened. But I was a kid with these really big frames, and I was like, people always tell me I look like Lavender with my really big frames and my really big doofy smile. And Matilda, has the beast of a show, and the choreography in that show is bananas. And I was a dancing kid, so they just my managers at the time just set me up for it. And the first time around I auditioned for Matilda was my 10th birthday, I remember, and I did not book it. I did not get called back. I did nothing. Nada. Weeks go by. I hear that they cast the show already, and they cast the show, and I was like, oh,
And you're like, oh, okay, oh well.
sucks, you know.
Yeah.
I think a month or 2, 3 months later, I think, question mark. they start audition, they redo it, they switch casting offices. They really like me because, my look. I was a very unconventional kid at the time. I was not polished. Theater wasn't my thing. I was a squeaking, squawking kid. I just finished the Christmas Spectacular a couple months before. So like it was kind of like into theater. I remember it was a long process. I think I went in 8 or 9 times over the course of the summer 2012. I danced, I sang, we did scene work. I danced, I sang, I did scene work every time I went in. And British people are sticklers. They are, but they make it super fun, and they're so respectful, and they really care. And it was a delightful experience. And I have a funny story of right before I went in for my final callback.
Ooh, I want to hear.
2 days before, I was playing around on the ballet bars at my studio, and they were made of old pipes, and I cut my foot open, and I had a deep cut in my foot. Now, at the time I had other injuries, and I was lazy. So they're like, oh, she's just getting out of dance. So my mom's like, okay, if you have blood through your sock when we get to this particular exit of the highway, we will go to the hospital, because it was either get off the highway and go home, or get off the highway and keep on going to the hospital, because I live in Queens. So we got to there, we opened the shoe has blood in it, there's blood on the sock, it's disgusting. Go to the hospital, we get stitches. Now my mother looks at me before we go in there, she goes, Erica, you're not to tell anybody. Not to tell anybody
What happened. Yeah.
What happened. You don't have stitches on your foot. They don't exist. And I was like, no, I'm not hurt. No, what are you talking about? She's like,
what injury?
So we're dancing, and Bruce on the tables, but we did it in chair. We do in chairs when we're learning. And I don't know if you know the choreography, like we just like swipe over, and our hands are in front of us, and we swipe our butts. We kind of lift up off the chair, and my chair goes flying back, but I didn't know until my butt was on the floor. So I landed with my butt on the floor, and then I slammed my feet on the ground.
Oh my God.
With stitches. And it hurts so bad. And I thought they popped. And everyone comes around, and kids. They're like, theatrical kids too.
Yes. So it's like the big reactions.
Right. And they're like, and the snarky faces, the whatever's. And they come over and they're like, are you okay? I'm looking around and I'm like, yeah. I'm
sure,
fine.
Yeah.
Fine. I made it past that day. And we had the final day. And I booked it that day. So isn't that a funny story? It was a process.
Your pain tolerance is
through the roof.
Yeah, your pain tolerance is quite impressive, because I don't know many people. I mean, I think dancers, again, like gymnasts, are kind of like a different like breed, and they're like they're so tough, and they put on like that tough face and that tough facade, because like, I mean, at a young age especially, they're like, I gotta be tough, like I gotta keep doing this and keep improving, and I want to keep improving, and I want to get better and better. And
that's definitely a thing you need in theater. The 8 shows a week is not easy. 8 shows a week on the road is definitely not easy when you don't have your people to go back to all the time. You don't have your family, you don't have your home, your safe space, your place to decompress. So I think I definitely learned that quality while working on that show, for sure.
Were you aware of the hype around Matilda while you were in the show? I knew
it was a very exciting thing. I was a swing. So I play Lavender and Amanda frequently. Like I went on twice a week pretty often. Actually every week, and sometimes more than that. So I knew the hype, of course. It was Matilda the musical. We got nominated for like 14 Tonys. I understood that was a big thing, but like now as an adult, I'm like, yeah, I was in the original, like, I don't know how important it was to be in the original Broadway cast of a show, but I was like, yeah, I was in the original Broadway cast of a show. I did all those press events. I did the Tonys. I did all of that. And people sometimes are like, that was 10 years ago. I was like, yes, that was 10 years ago. But did you do that 10 years ago when you were 10 years old?
Not many people did. It's very like a not like very few people have that like I was 10 and made my Broadway debut experience.
Like, do I think I was a mess? Hell yeah, it was a mess. I was a mess. I looked bad. I don't think I looked bad, but I was
No,
like,
no, no.
the little girl was a rascal.
But you're probably like, I was a kid, so like
Yeah.
like as a kid you're still learning. And that choreography is absolutely bonkers. How long did it take for you to learn that choreography?
I think the kids had an extra month on top of the adults. So I think the adults had like a month and a month, maybe less than that. And we had 3 weeks on top of that.
I'm sure the adults were like coming to the kids at points and going, "Hey, can you all help me with this choreography?"
Honestly, I don't really remember. There's something I really don't remember of that experience. I kind of remember rehearsals. I remember like running around singing the songs. Like before rehearsal, they would make us like run around in circles and sing the songs for like stamina sake. You know how like Beyonce runs on the treadmill and sings her songs like that. But we
Yeah.
weren't. And I remember school the hour before rehearsal and like what the studio looks like. But like most of the time, I don't really remember. I knew it was a tense environment, but other than that, I don't really remember.
Was it cool making your Broadway debut amongst so many other kids? Because I mean, in many shows, there's like maybe 4 kids in
I
the
didn't
show.
realize. Okay, I didn't realize the caliber of it, so I was like, "Oh, this is fun. Whatever." It wasn't anything major, and I don't know something that always people always remind me. I sit around the time was like, I don't know what my excited is, so like when we get there, I'll find out and tell you. And then I was just like, "Oh, this is cool."
You're
You know,
like, yeah, okay, I'm on a stage, I'm
I was like,
performing
"Oh," I
it.
was like, yeah,
Yeah, you're like, this is just like
right.
any other
And
theater
the
show.
thing was, I didn't. I did the Radio City Christmas Spectacular, so I didn't really know that Radio City was. I didn't know that Radio City was a big, huge thing. I don't think I've ever saw the Christmas Spectacular before that. So the Tonys are at Radio City, and so like we get to Radio City, I was like, oh, I know this place.
Yeah, I've performed here. It's cool.
Yeah, like that was my dressing room. This is this. This is that. I've worked here before. This ain't nothing to me. Isn't that so funny? I think one thing I was really excited for was the Thanksgiving Day parade.
Yes, I saw that. I was gonna ask like how
Yeah,
like
fun.
what time do you wake up for that? Because that's
So what they usually do is that the productions pay for you to stay in the city. So I don't know if the Paramount Hotel is still there. The Paramount on 46th Street.
I love that. I think they were like remodeling it, but I stayed there like
But you know what I'm
for
talking about.
it's literally like it was my favorite hotel.
I love that hotel, right? So the Paramount, we would stay at the Paramount anytime we had early morning things. Right. So we were staying at the Paramount, and I think call time had to be like 5. So I woke up at 4:15 because the Paramount was on 46th, and you could cross through the Marquee Marriott thing, and then you could cross the Schubert Alley. It was just right there. So I was like, oh, 4:15, put on a shirt, go get some breakfast, go to the theater type thing. We get there at 5. We would put on our costumes. I think we would go rehearse at the Macy's, come back, and then go again between about 5 and 9. And then that's when like the parade started at like 9.
I'm sure your family members were all like freaking out, and you were just like, yeah, what's like? I mean, I'm performing, I'm doing what I love. It's fine.
My family's so used to it. Nothing. Nothing. My immediate family, at least. My siblings and my dad are just like,
They're like, okay, we gotta like get your makeup on, we'll like help you with your costumes.
yeah, they're just like, it's whatever. Erica's doing the parade. I did a Sesame Street episode when I was a kid. My dad didn't know about it until he was using that episode to teach his students, and he was like, oh, you're and I was like, yeah, I'm in that. And he was like, oh, no clue.
Like, when did you do that?
Yeah, right. He was like, when did you do that? And I was like, 10, 11 years ago. It's really
That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. So your family's just like, okay, it's cool. It's cool.
yeah, it's been a real long time of us doing this together.
Yeah.
And so it's nothing major as of right now to them. If I break into a territory that I'm not really familiar with, that's when it hopefully will be like more dramatic to them and me.
I mean, and I'm gonna get into something else I saw you did, but first, do you remember when you made your Broadway debut and who you went on for?
I don't know what day it was. I have no clue what day it was. Know the range of days it could have been. Have no clue what day it was. I played Lavender. Don't remember that day at all.
Don't remember. You're just like, it's
Not a single memory is in my mind. I remember opening night. I remember maybe the first preview, barely. No clue anything else. Honestly.
everything else. I mean, you were young. You were
Yeah.
10 years old. That's really young. I mean, so what is it like being a swing at such a young age? Did you know what a swing was before?
Oh, no clue. I do remember this moment with my mother. We were in the car. She had just told me I booked Matilda. Apparently, a bunch of people knew before I did. We had gone to Carmine's across the street from the Schubert, and then she was already up, and she was like, "Oh, and congratulations, Erica, booking Matilda." And we were like, "What?"
What? I what?
Basically. And my mom was like, "Okay, so you're a swing," and I was like,
Oh, you're like a what?
like she was like, "You're gonna go on sometimes," and I was like, "Okay, okay." And then I started to understand it. I don't think it was hard at the time. I don't know how I could do it now. I would need help. But they're like, okay, you're just gonna learn one first and then you're gonna know the other. Luckily, so the way they did it in Matilda was that we covered 2 each, right? And some people covered more or whatever, but I covered 2. And the other kids covered 2. Yes, the other kids covered 2. And so usually, so I was a small girl swing. And my 2 girls were opposites the entire show. So it was the same choreography, which just on different sides.
So it's like
So
kind of, you're like, okay, I got this. I just have to switch sides.
right, and that part was easy. And there was like, oh, okay, it's an Amanda night, so I don't have to do the passing of the blocks in school song. Like I can just be in the front and watch it. I don't have to pull the blocks. Or like, oh, it's a Lavender night, I have to go to the top of Act 2 monologue. I have to go to this scene. I don't get to play around in the back. Things like that.
Yes. Did you have a preference of like who you liked going on for more?
They both were equally fun. One, you have a lot of lines and you could do the newt trick everything. You get to stick it, you do the jug, whatever. And then Amanda, you literally got to do them in a hip throw. So like, and we got to start off where I grew up. So when I grow up, when I grow up. So
hey, Peter Pan.
fun. It was equally as fun to me personally.
I mean, and you're playing iconic roles from the movie that you love. So you're like, I'm playing like this character that I watched in the movie, and this is really cool. I'm thrown into like the world of Matilda.
Right. It was so cool. And people were like, oh, like the movie. I was like, no, like the book, because the movie was based off of a book.
Yes.
Right. So it was a very British show. It's a very British show.
Yeah, it's quite, when I've seen like the little like trailers for it, I'm like, it's quite different from the movie. Like it's the same universe, but it's quite different.
Right, but still very good. I'm excited for the movie musical to come out in December.
I was gonna say, how cool is it to like look back at like 2012, 2013 and be like, oh, like it's still huge. Like people are still excited for this movie to come out.
And for me, we started rehearsals in December 2012. So for us, like 10 years later, December 2022, and having this movie come out, I'm very excited to watch it. Hopefully, I don't know if I think I'll be in New York around that time. So maybe I can drag a bunch of them to come see it with me.
I was
we'll talk. So
anniversary party.
anniversary party. Why not? Let's go watch it. Let's
Yes,
do it. Come on.
that'd
You
be
know,
so fun. That'd be such a good idea. So I want to, before I get into Mean Girls, what's it like doing Radio City in Christmas Spectacular? Does it like make the Christmas
oh, that
season
was so cool.
that
The
much more
coolest
fun?
thing. The coolest thing in the universe. I haven't seen it in since I was in it, so it is a very cool experience. I think the spectacle of it all, the amount of people, the extravagance of that production itself, it's wild. And I loved doing it. I love Christmas. I loved doing it.
It's like the best way to get in the Christmas spirit too, to be in a show where you're like performing a whole Christmas show. You're like, okay, I'm even more in the Christmas spirit this year, probably.
I loved it so much.
How do you think performing like in Matilda and in the Radio City Christmas Spectacular at a young age and like keeping up with school has helped you with performing now? Because you're still school age. I read that
I'm
you
20. I don't go to school
yeah,
anymore.
I read that, but I think you were keeping up with school at first and on Mean Girls tour maybe, or
No.
no?
As soon as
Okay.
I left school, I left school.
So you're like you're like I'm learning by doing
Yeah,
basically.
I'm a big believer in learning by doing,
Yes.
and I think this is why this feels like a better option to me, even though in the classroom, especially at U of M, was an incredible experience, and I owe a lot to a lot of those people. The incubator of that space is truly, truly something remarkable, and it's really something that I hope people get to experience in their lives. But it's definitely the type of performer I am. The people that were on those creative teams definitely pushed me in ways that I didn't know I could be pushed. And they were my teachers.
Yep.
Those are the people I really learned from. And so now I can perform in a way that impacts people, or at least people tell me how it impacts them. And I'm really grateful for that. And it's allowed me to work at this level at such a young age.
Yes, which is crazy. And I mean, Michigan too, like that's a big theater school. So it's a big deal that like you went there for even a short time.
Yeah, that was a surprise. That getting into Michigan was a big, big achievement for me. I was really proud of myself.
I mean, as you should be, because I think everyone knows that that's a pretty big musical theater school to get into. Lots of people come out from that school.
I'm really, really, really proud of myself.
Yes.
Oh, 17-year-old Erica.
Yes. Applause. So, Mean Girls. I mean, you were how old when you auditioned? You were probably like fresh out of high school.
I did 1 year of U of M, and then I auditioned last summer.
Okay, so I'm pretty fresh out of high school.
Yeah.
So you're like, I got this. Like, I know the high school.
Actually, it really was like, I'm just doing this to do this. I'm supposed to move to school tomorrow. I hope I have fun. It was really for myself. It wasn't for anybody else. And I think that's maybe why I had such a good experience and a good turnout, because I just learned that I just have to do it for myself, for me to enjoy it and for me to do my best work for myself.
I think that's really good advice to take away too for people, for like performers in the industry and like young performers in the industry. Is like, hey, like don't put like unnecessary pressure on yourself. Like have fun. If you love it, like go into the audition room and have fun. And I mean, yeah, there's probably nerves, but you still got to remember to have fun.
Right. Always having fun, always doing it for yourself. I of course was nervous, and like the smaller the group was getting, the more nervous I got. I was like, oh,
you see it dwindling down.
Right. But that room of women was just so remarkable. It's the first time I have ever been in an audition room with just Black women. So it was really cool. It was really, really cool. We were all really excited to be there and with each other.
Oh, so I want to ask, as the audition started dwindling down, what is that whole process like? What are you thinking to yourself?
So I don't know if you know this, Mean Girls has tap, right? So I'm
Yeah.
not the best tapper in the world, but I can hold on. I can hold on, all right? I can
I
do
mean,
I
you're
can do
good
what
on
I
that
need to do.
stage.
All right. I'm hitting the sounds. So when the tap came around, it was about 15 of us, and we were like, look, luckily we didn't have to put on tap shoes, but um we it was just a bunch of it was the no pressure whatsoever. And I think it was my first audition post-pandemic. I think it was a lot of people's first time being in a room, an audition room, and it was a really welcoming space because we were like, we haven't done this, we don't know what this looks like post COVID. We're just going to go at this with the most grace and the most humility that we can for each other. And I think that was the best way it could go.
So when did you get told that you got cast in Mean Girls on tour?
I knew that I was the first pick that night, and the next morning I found out.
Ooh, did you have time to go to be like, oh wow, let this sink in? And what was your reaction?
I was very proud of myself because I didn't my biggest fear in high school, my biggest fear in general really is just to be that crazy child actor or the one person who did that one thing that one time. And I didn't. I wouldn't have felt like I failed if I wasn't able to successfully cross over as an adult. And this proved to myself really that I can do this, and that I can be a magical person who does magical things, and I'm fully capable of all the things that I never thought I would be able to do before.
Yes, I mean, exactly. And what's it like knowing that you booked a tour and you've got to prepare to hit the road and pack clothes and gather everything for
So I
national?
went to school for that month before the month between my audition and rehearsal. I was not a registered student. My teachers were so nice to me, and I had literally taken back all my classes, and I got a refund from the university. It was great. And I took class for that month, but I also knew that I was going on tour. So I went home for one weekend. I had a fitting. I had 2 doctor's appointments. I went back to school, and then I came home for 1 week before rehearsals. I didn't take anything out of my suitcase from school. I had a minimal amount of clothing, and that's just the amount of clothing I needed for tour. I just took the minimal amount of toiletries that I could have for tour, and then I just went. I didn't do much. I tried to handle all my affairs. But I was still living at home with my parents, so everything would just be sent there, and it wasn't that big of a crossover because I was at school technically.
I mean, I'm impressed that you were able to
It was
take
a very minimal thing.
I'm
Very
very
minimal.
impressed because I would be I gotta pack my whole room.
Oh no.
Be
I
kind
gave back my room for college. It was just still there. And it's kind of still there now. They're slowly packing my things because I had a sister move back home, and she's moving into my space. But yeah, for the most part, that's what it was.
Oh, so what was it like going into the rehearsal room for Mean Girls? I mean, again, popular movie.
Popular
So
movie. I knew Mean Girls. I love Mean Girls. I knew the show. I kind of knew the show. I had never seen it. I only saw a bootleg of the tour. Actually, it was English as Janice. I remember. But I was very big fans of everybody in the cast because I'm a little theater nerd. So after I saw the bootleg, I researched everybody. I bother Morgan with this all of the time because I love Morgan and I love the way that she performs. And I was like, Morgan, I'm your biggest fan. You have to understand. You don't understand the impact you've had on me and my life. And she's like, I don't know you.
she's like, what?
That's so weird. And I was like,
You're
Like, I know who all of you are. Everybody in the cast, like, it didn't take me time to know people's names. I knew who they were.
Because you're like,
Good.
hey.
And rehearsal was so not stressful at all. Everybody was easing back into this world.
Yes.
It was the first time they were going back into the show. So, like, I didn't feel an immense amount of pressure. I was so lucky that I got to rehearse with them as they were also learning it again, too. And, we have a great, great, great company here that lead with so much kindness and care. And so it was the easiest process in the universe. I remember everyone's like 5 to 10 years older than me. And they were mostly like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm fine.
You
I'm
look great.
great. I'm cool as a cucumber. Like, I'm good."
I was gonna say, going in as the youngest in the room, like that must have been really cool because like everyone's like, hey, so gotta check up on you at
I
all
was like, that was all the time. And I was like, "I'm okay. I promise."
You're like, it's
Like,
okay.
"You got me, I got you. We're good. We got this together." I was not afraid. I had spent that 2 years. Actually, I spent maybe like 4 months, like post like day of shutdown, not doing anything. And then I went back to school. I was in class, I was training, I was doing all the things. So I was like not really nervous. It was the best.
You're like, this is a dream come true.
Fine, I'm good.
Yeah.
Good. We're good. We got this. I think the costume part, that was really fun. And meeting people I admired very much was super, super fun. And I felt like I had no social skills at that point. I was like, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what's coming out of my mouth, but it's something. And they seem to be enjoying it and thinking I'm funny. So fingers crossed that they like me.
I mean, I don't think anyone had social skills after 2020 happened.
No social skills. None.
Yeah, no, it didn't.
None.
I mean, people learn how to make bread. That's about it.
I didn't get to that point.
I remember it all happened. Everyone started making bread and posting their like bread masterpieces at the same time.
Eating fish sticks personally at my house, but
I mean, I was doing microwave meals. It's fine.
Trader Joe's shrimp gyoza. Like, come on.
Ooh, okay.
Good,
Okay.
so good. The best.
Recommendation.
Highly recommend.
So, what is your favorite number in Mean Girls, and what was the hardest number to learn during the rehearsal process?
It Roars is my favorite. I think it's a perfect opening number. I think to craft an opening number that's successful is very hard. And I think the reboot version of It Roars is brilliant. It has such good energy. The choreography is good. It builds well. It gives you goosebumps. Come on. So good. Like, as soon as the boys come on, the doom, that part.
The whole, I mean, the soundtrack of Mean Girls, like, it never gets boring at all. Like there's no dip where it gets boring.
No, it does not at all. And I think that number is very fun. It was very fun to learn. It's a great start of the show. It shoots you right out of the cannon. And personally, for my dancer body, it makes me feel good as very like familiar movement for me. So I loved learning roars. I loved doing roars. Now, the hardest number for me that would like stick in my brain, stop was hard for me because of tapping. But it was honestly pretty fine because I taught it to myself from watching the video. But Apex Predator
Ooh.
is one of those pieces of choreography that just has a lot going, like a lot is happening, a lot of movement in a small amount of time. It did not make sense in my brain. And there'll still be some days where I'm dancing and I'm like, this does not look good. This does not feel good. I feel crazy.
I mean, I think you look very good on stage dancing. I was very impressed when I saw you dancing on that stage. I was like, oh my gosh, like she's so good and like so composed and like knows what she's doing.
Thank you. Yeah, I felt a little wild learning that, and it was hard. There was so much going on. It was hard to like, it didn't stick.
I mean,
wasn't sticking. And I had learned it in one room. And then they're like, okay, we're all going to run it in the next room and we're going to record it and we're going to put it in the Dropbox that everybody sees. Everybody sees Dropbox. So I was like, and the people that were coming in were going to probably watch the Dropbox. So I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get for the Dropbox. Flames. It was bad.
you're like, this has to be perfect. I have to. Yeah.
Did not remember.
I mean, I was going to say during that scene too, there's quite elaborate set pieces.
Yeah.
So is that like part of the, like, does that kind of make dancing and learning the choreography more difficult when you're working with elaborate set pieces?
I think the first half of Apex is easy because it's a lot of interacting with each other and maintaining the world of Chicago and North Shore and their environment. I thought it was easy to learn because there's a lot, like, I check in with a lot of places. There's a lot of checkpoints. Like for me, when we first enter the mall, I go to the pretzel cart. I talk to Taylor Waddell and Olivia Renteria. I talk to Taylor Waddell and I show her the new shoes I got and I get some hand sanitizer because it's COVID times. And then I walk across and I go see my friend Jason Weems and tell him that whatever he was doing to the new girl was not nice and that he needs to be a better friend. And then my brother Christian, I've created this world for myself.
I was gonna say, do you have their names for everyone in the ensemble?
Everybody has a name. So my name is Grace. My name is Grace A. When Niani was my track, it was still Grace A. And there's Jason Weems, there's Taylor Waddell, there's Christian Wiggins, Sonia Aquino, Sophie Kawachi. Everybody has a name. So in my world, Deshaun Bowens and I are siblings. And Deshaun Bowen's character, Christian Wiggins, is friends with Jason Weems. So I felt like I could tell Jason Weems because he's my big brother's friend, you know? And then after that, I turn into a bird. And my birds don't have bags, so I fly around the emoji car and I put my bag on the emoji car and I go back to flying and I go to Regina and then I go back to flying, you know? So I have my different checkpoints that I've got. And then you put the choreography in between most of those checkpoints and that's it. It's easy.
And it's a lot of like switching back and forth in Mean Girls too, for people who haven't seen Mean Girls. You're switching between like the high school world and then Katie's like world, like jungle world.
Right.
And
it happens a few times for me personally. I think it happens like 4 times. And we know when those are coming and those parts are fun.
Yeah, it's like a quick little change. So like, right. I mean, how do you go about that and like changing from like being like, you are essentially changing from being a high school student to like an animal where Katie grew up?
I mean, it's a movie moment. That's what I think of it. It's definitely a movie moment, you know, when like definitely. It's a different the whatever that vehicle is in the Mean Girls movie, it's the same in the musical. And you know, it's not that big of a change or not that big of a switch because it's our nature, you know, it's just high school students. So that's why it just seems kind of normal when it happens. And if we take that cue, it's all time to music. So like we know the timing of the music. So that also definitely helps.
What in Mean Girls musical or Mean Girls the movie do you think is most relatable for a current high school student or any high school student?
The social dynamic. Definitely. Yep. It's a very, very familiar thing. And learning how to go through that and find your part of it and how you operate in it is very relatable to me, at least. I wasn't in high school too long ago, so I could definitely relate to a lot of characters trying to, you know, make sense of things. Like I feel like in my brain I'm like the middle of Janice and Gretchen in terms of like
who you relate to, probably.
Yes. Like Janice's personality, but also Gretchen's longing for acceptance of who she is and what she wants, you know?
I'm such a Gretchen.
I understand on that one.
The phone analogy, I was like, oh yeah, same Gretchen, absolutely. I was like, I get it. And like, I feel like also like entering high school, when you enter high school, even from like junior high, it's like going to a foreign country kind of, because like you're going from like a smaller school to like a bigger environment if you're in public school, and you're like, oh my gosh, where do I start? Like, how do I make friends? What is happening?
Right. That's what it felt like going to college. I went to school with only 500 people. And so going into this big 30,000 person university, I was like, ah. At the same time, I lived in New York City, so it didn't feel too daunting.
But
And
I
the
mean,
parts were small, so it helped a little bit.
still, I'm just very impressed that like your college experience right now is basically like a traveling college experience
Yeah.
in a way. So it's like kind of like a traveling little like classroom all around where you're like,
Mhm.
again, learning by doing. And I'm just very impressed that you were like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna pack bags and go on the road and travel with this cast, even though I'm such a like, even though I'm only, you were 19 when you joined the tour, I think, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I fully understand. Thank you. I appreciate that. That is very kind.
Very impressed by that.
Yeah.
How would you convince theater fans to come see Mean Girls on tour? Because it's such a great show.
Okay. So theater fans, theater nerds, we unite,
Yeah.
and I think I love Nell Benjamin and I love what Nell Benjamin does. I think she is a fantastic writer, and the way that she is able to bring such a theatricality to this content, the same way that she did with Legally Blonde, is brilliant. So I think it's a theater lover's Mean Girls. The
Yeah.
references are so great and so fun. And that's why they should come and see Mean Girls, because who wouldn't? That's how I feel about because Mean Girls and the Prom came out at the same time, same Casey, and it's an ode to theater lovers, and I feel both of those shows.
I mean, yes, and the choreography in both those shows, like you see similarities when you watch both those shows, and you're
It
like,
is the same,
yeah,
literally the same steps.
it's so, I was like, oh, okay, like this is basically the same, like like it's the same dance moves,
It's the
and
same
this is why I'm so
different
impressed with both. Yeah, I'm so like I was so impressed when I saw the prom, and then I saw Mean Girls, and I was like, oh, okay, like I get it, I get it. Same like creative team, so same kind of like dance steps, and I
very
both of them,
very same essence, but in different ways.
yeah, and both shows insane choreography. Definitely a theater lovers show.
Right.
So, do you have a city that you're looking forward to going to and showing Mean Girls to?
I think I'm excited for the East Coast. We're going to the East Coast, so we're going to North Carolina. I know North Carolina is still the South, but it's more on the East Coast. We're going Madison right now. We're in Madison right now, and that's very exciting. I'm very excited to show these audiences. They're very excited to be here in this house. We're super close to them, so that's super cool.
Oh,
But I'm really excited to show all these cities near we'll never go to New York, because it's Broadway. Broadway's there and Mean Girls closed there. So the closest we're getting is like Hartford, Connecticut, Richmond, Virginia. So I'm really excited to go to those cities. I love the East Coast in the fall, and I'm really excited for that.
I've heard like places like I've never been to Boston in the fall, and I've heard that's on my bucket list in the fall. So I don't know if y'all are going there, but like
Worcester in Massachusetts. So I'm really excited. Also, my sister goes to school near there, so I'm super excited to go over there.
ooh, I heard the Atlanta audiences for the tour.
Oh my God. The best. The Fox in Atlanta.
Yes, that's
There's
what.
so many people there. It's like 5,000 people a show. We showed Mean Girls to 40,000 people that week.
Oh my goodness.
That's bananas.
That's crazy. And I'm sure like the whole city was talking about it for like a month probably afterwards.
So wonderful. A wonderful experience.
I just kept seeing like all the posts from the cast, and I was like, have to give Atlanta a shout out here.
Love Atlanta. It was so wonderful.
Yes. So I want to ask, who inspires you in the theater world?
Okay. So right now, I generally am inspired by Black women doing theater. They're so powerful, they're so remarkable, and I really see them when I see myself when I look at them, and I see the possibilities of things that I could do. So they're usually my inspiration.
Yes, and I mean, how exciting is it to be on the Mean Girls tour right now with Jasmine playing Gretchen and Morgan playing Karen?
Oh, it's so great. When I found out Morgan was playing Karen, she told me before everybody. I shat my pants. I was like, I knew it. And then when I found Jazz, I was like, this is insane. And it's so important. It's so important. And when you see particular faces in the audience and see how they light up when they see Morgan and Jasmine, it makes me so emotional. Because, like, okay, yes, Black girls can be dumb too. That's why I said Morgan as a joke, because Karen. But I was like, no, it's so much more than that. It's like Black girls can be principals too. They can lead these shows. They can be pretty funny and smart, And I think that I love that. And especially also when Maya goes on as Janice, it's really, truly, and it's incredible to have people make those connections. So it's super important. And I really have a great friendship with Morgan. And so when Morgan left the ensemble, last week in Memphis in like April, I had a conversation with her talking about how what she's going to do as Karen is just so remarkable, because the impact she's already made being in the ensemble of Mean Girls, I know, because I was one of those people. And so Black women in theater just inspire me in general.
I mean, yes, I am so excited too. It's a whole different show, but I don't know if you saw the Frozen Young Elsa casting recently. They have a little the girl who went viral at like Disney is playing young Elsa.
I have to look into that.
She was like in a like Tiana dress at Disney, I think. And I'm so happy because like I recently saw it in Dallas, and there were so many little girls dressed as Elsa dressed in Elsa dresses, and I'm like, I want them to see like them on stage.
Right.
And yeah. So now they can. It's so cool. It's I love the theater world right now. It's doing groundbreaking stuff right now, and important stuff. So if you could revive any Broadway show, what would it be?
Jesus Christ Superstar.
Ooh, okay. I saw that in Dallas recently.
I love Superstar. It's my favorite thing in the entire world. I know it's such a weird niche, but it is my thing. The music in that show just does something to me. The Brown album, the original 1970 album, it needs to come back to Broadway. If I have to do it with my own hands, I'll do it myself. I will acquire some large amount of money and produce it. Jesus Christ Superstar or Spring Awakening, but Jesus Christ Superstar.
You're like, I'm gonna enter the lottery every day until I win the lottery, and then I'm gonna produce Jesus Christ Superstar on Broadway.
Yes. Exactly.
Manifesting that.
Exactly.
And it has such a cult following, so like people would be so excited.
I love Jesus Christ Superstar.
It has a huge following. I worked it at Pantages, and the people who came to see it
very large following,
so excited to see it. Like they were like such big fans of the show.
I love it.
Seeing it for like the 30th time, and I was like, oh, okay. Yes. So what is a fun fact about yourself? I want to mention you performed with Meghan Trainor once on stage.
Yes, I did.
I saw that on your Instagram.
That was my first job after Matilda. I also didn't know if I could like really work as a dancer and make it like be really good at that. And then I booked this job at Meghan Trainor at the Nickelodeon Halo Awards in 2014. And that was so fun. And her backup dancers are so fun and so cool. I don't know if you know the rapper Danny Lay, but she used to work for Meghan Trainor as a dancer. And so I like to say I knew Danny Lay before she blew up. But that experience is so great, and Meghan Trainor is the best. She's so kind, such a warm person. I love her.
I mean, and how cool to be like a kid performing in an award show, showing like other kids, hey, it's not only adults that are backup dancers.
So cool. And I had some friends from school in the audience, so I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Yes, because I feel like most like singers take like all these adults on the tour with them. I know it's probably like a like contract thing with like you can't have kids performing and rehearsing this many hours a week, but like still,
Angeles.
yeah, still like you don't see many kids as backup dancers for these huge artists.
And you know that in her music video, it was the two girls. It was Taylor Hitala and Kendall Harris, and so I think that was just the trend that she was trying to continue with that particular song. It was all about the bass, and I was like, yeah, let me do it. Let me do it. It was so fun.
That's so cool. And the hype from the award show, probably you were probably like, yeah.
Yeah, it's so fun. That was such a great time.
Yeah, award shows are just a blast.
It was a lot. It was a delight.
So how do you work on self-confidence in this industry? Because really you've been in it for a while. So
confidence. My confidence is something I've been really trying to work on, and I think really come into in a different way in the last few years. But someone told me that this once, but I have nothing to prove, only to share. And so when I get really down on myself and start looking at other people and comparing myself, I know that they're not any competition to me. They're not. The only competition is myself, and that I have nothing to prove and only to share. And so that's how I've been really trying to calm myself down and work on it. And if I'm in places for a reason.
Yes.
I know I'm really hard on myself, but I'm in places for a reason, and I'm doing way better than I think I am. I always try to remind myself that. I'm like, you're doing, you've got it, Erica. You're okay. You're okay. Yes. No, I try to remind myself of that.
I mean, performers are naturally so tough on themselves. Yeah. And I think it's very important to like remember that like, hey, like you're doing what you're doing because like someone was like, wow, like this person has potential.
Right.
And this person is good and talented and works in my project that I'm putting on.
Right.
So, I mean, always important to talk yourself up even when it's easy to get in your head.
Right. It's so easy. But once you get out, you do great things. And I think one moment I've gotten out so far, like really got out of my head, I got this job, and I could not be more grateful.
Yes. It's easy to overthink, but
easy.
So easy. So where can people follow you on social media to keep up with what you're doing?
You can follow me at Erica Simone Barnett on Instagram. I only have Instagram. I have Facebook for my mother, but other than that, my Instagram is Erica Simone Barnett.
I mean, my mom the other day was like, I'm gonna embarrass her for a second. My mom went on her Facebook the other day and like freaked out because I think it's like the only social media app she knows how to use. And she was like, wait, it switched to a page. I didn't switch to a page. It deleted my Facebook. And I'm like, Mom, no, it did. Your Facebook is still there. It's fine.
Yep. But Erica on Instagram, that's where I am. That's where you'll find me.
Yes. Okay, so I'll put that in the lower thirds in the description. And lastly, is there anything you want to promote or talk about, or do you just want to like encourage people to come see Mean Girls?
Come see Mean Girls. We are going, I think our next couple cities will be in Charlotte and then Greensboro, North Carolina. And then we go back up the East Coast before heading to Toronto for 6 weeks. Ooh. So come see us on the Mean Girls tour. And then we're heading to the West Coast. So make sure you get your tickets. Come see Mean Girls. Come follow us at Changes Fetch. We do a lot of fun work there. And thank you for having me. Becca, you are so impressive.
Thank you. I mean, so are you. When I was doing research last night,
it's so beautiful. And thank you.
Oh,
thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad this worked out. Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!